Hey, just know this. Everything right now is being pre-recorded. I got somewhere to be here in a minute, but I gotta jump on here because what I got for you right now is so hot. It's so hot, it's on fire. And I'm telling you, the reason why you need to deconstruct, but more than that, it has more to do with what's on the other side. What's on the other side? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's get this game going. Here we go. I'm not going to waste any time because right now I'm here to tell you this is hot and on fire. We need to understand something. And I posted earlier and it was talking about consciousness. And it's every day we're discovering more and more and more about consciousness. And the thing is like we've waited a long time to get to this point. And while everyone is deconstructing their faith and everyone is trying to reconstruct and recreate their faith and trying to figure out a way to keep, their livelihood and maybe keep their church going or maybe figure out a way they can still worship, I totally get it 100%. I totally get it. You do what you got to do in order for you to carry on with this life, right? As you know it. Until you're ready to deconstruct your reality, until you're ready to deep dive, right? And go into a space where it might be uncomfortable. It might be a space where you just don't really understand or know. And guess what? You might be crazy to some people. We're going to deep dive and I'm going to take you on a journey. I do a lot of research and I listen to a lot of different things. But the first thing we want to do is we want to just deep dive and we're going to talk and we're going to look at the nature of consciousness. This video is not that long. This one's only 3 minutes. And let's just take a little dive real quick.
Where are you? Where is your mind? Is it inside your body? Probably in your head, somewhere behind the eyes, right? It is commonly believed that our experiences are produced by this big organ in our heads, called the brain. But recent scientific evidence suggests something else. We've known that most experiences correspond to certain patterns of brain activation. For instance, computers can scan your brain and correctly guess what you're looking at or even what you're imagining. When someone is looking at an object, say a tree, we can see specific parts of the brain light up. That's amazing. It must mean that the brain generates our experiences, right? Not quite. No one in the entire history of science has been able to explain how brain metabolism produces the richness of experience we commonly refer to as the mind. Perhaps it doesn't produce the mind at all. A new and vast body of evidence strongly suggests a completely different relationship between the brain and the mind. Here's the thing. Experiments show that certain reductions or impairments of normal brain activity correlate precisely with richer and intenser experience. Take drugs. Well, not literally. For decades, we have thought that psychedelic substances worked by lighting up the brain like a Christmas tree. Since 2012, however, experiments in respected institutions like the University Hospital Zurich and the Imperial College London have shown that the opposite occurs. You could have the most mind-boggling experience of your life while your brain effectively goes to sleep. And the evidence doesn't stop at psychedelics. Vietnam War veterans that had suffered brain injury were more likely to report rich spiritual experiences. Pilots undergoing acceleration-induced loss of consciousness, which drains blood out of the brain, report having rich dreams while seemingly unconscious. People who recover from a near-death experience regularly describe extremely rich, even life-changing sensations, even though medical experts know that shortly after cardiac arrest, there's almost no brain activity. Some people practicing meditation achieve rich trance-like states by using hyperventilation techniques that reduce brain metabolism. The list goes on. How is this possible? While it is undeniable that the brain and the mind are closely related, perhaps we need to fundamentally rethink what that relationship really is. Maybe the brain is not the generator of consciousness, but merely the image of a particular state of consciousness, less like a factory and more like a river. This alternative way of thinking may be hard to grasp, but it will determine the future, not only of science and philosophy, but of our very way of life. Anyway, that's where we are. Where's your mind at?
Where is your mind? Make sure you take note of that particular site right there.
When we study physics, we must
It's
go
such a
beyond.
foundation, right? Because they work on some things. We're going to look at him real quick. That is Dr. Fagan. He is the person that came up with the microprocessor. So, in other words, the way you are viewing me right now, back in the 70s, he was the one that came up with the reason why we're able to consciously tap and tune in to each other via, like, come on, y'all. Come on. Stay with me. Stay with me. Listen. Deconstructing, right? Deconstructing is like almost like we have to do the baby steps, which I understand in terms of who we are. We have to go through deconstruction, and religious trauma also relates to our other traumas that we have in life. Follow me, right? Get it? And the fact that here we are in this objective reality, and we see things, everything from politics to religion to the choices that we believe that we are making. Now, don't go deep conspiracy on me in the sense that all people know, so many people know what I'm talking about. No, they don't. People don't know. There are people that have clues, and we have had understandings on how to manipulate this reality. We have had all sorts of different understandings. If you look at how the private or sacred groups like the Illuminati, as what we would know today, or the Masons, or various esoteric groups, then we can deep dive and we can look at things like the occult, and we can look at things like Theocracy Society with Alice Bailey, and that's where you get the term New Age. Anything, and then what happens is that then we, go down the rabbit hole into other things and the sense of doctrine where, and it's not even a doctrine. The church and people from church and religious organizations think that other organizations or other ideas or ideologies or theories or things that relate to spirituality are formulated just like they are, or just like it is. And it's not formulated in the same way, unless we go into the metaphysical, or unless we go into the early, even within the Abrahamic faiths. If you go way back, especially before 1611 and the King James, but keep going way back to the very, very early church in the hundreds, right? And even before then. But that's how you have Sufi, and you have the Kabbalah, and you have Christian mysticism. We're going to have a Christian mystic, and he's a phenomenal author, October 31st. Phenomenal. We can, from the pagan information and understanding how we got to where we are. What I'm telling you, there is a deep merger between spirituality and who we are. The spirituality as in like the sacredness and what we do to try to go within and all these various things. All we're trying to do is we're trying to break free, right? Whether you want to call it shadow work or whether you want to call it deconstructing, no matter what you want to call it, our reality is not what we believe that it is, but yet it is, because we are recreating or creating this reality. That's the thing about consciousness. Although we can tap in, tune in, and turn on and turn up something you cannot imagine. You can't imagine. You can't not imagine. And the way we are getting there is we going back to the foundations, I believe, on how we come up with thought, how we come up with language, how we come up with everything. Dr. Fagan, we're going to go to him. But first, we're going to visit another dear person that I will deep dive, probably more on a private. And that is we're going to spend a couple of minutes here with Donald Hoffman, who also works on consciousness.
Have you ever thought that our senses could be misleading us about the real nature of the universe?
Reflecting back who and what we are and the choices we make, the worlds we build. They also confront us with questions.
What if the reality we perceive is nothing more than an elaborate illusion crafted by our minds? This concept that brings to mind science fiction is at the heart of the groundbreaking work by cognitive psychologist Donald Hoffman.
We used to think the Earth is flat because it looks that way. Pythagoras discovered that we were wrong. Then we thought that the Earth is the unmoving center of the universe, again because it looks that way. Copernicus and Galileo discovered, again, that we were wrong. Galileo then wondered if we might be misinterpreting our experiences in other ways. He wrote, "I think that tastes, odors, colors, and so on reside in consciousness. Hence, if the living creature were removed, all these qualities would be annihilated."
Could Galileo be right? Could we really be misinterpreting our experiences that badly?
Well, neuroscientists tell us that about a third of the brain's cortex is engaged in vision. When you simply open your eyes and look about this room, billions of neurons and trillions of synapses are engaged. Now, this is a bit surprising because to the extent that we think about vision at all, we think of it as like a camera that just takes a picture of objective reality as it is. Now, there is a part of vision that's like a camera. The eye has a lens that focuses an image on the back of the eye where there are 130 million photoreceptors. So the eye is like a 130 megapixel camera. But that doesn't explain the billions of neurons and trillions of synapses that are engaged in vision. What are these neurons up to? Well, neuroscientists tell us that they're creating in real time all the shapes, objects, colors, and motions that we see. It feels like we're just taking a snapshot of this room the way it is, but in fact, we're constructing everything that we see. We don't construct the whole world at once. We construct what we need in the moment.
Imagine for a moment that what you perceive as reality is more akin to a sophisticated computer interface, skillfully designed by your brain to simplify the complex workings of the world. This is the essence of Hoffman's theory, challenging the idea that our senses give us a direct line to the outside world. His work, stirring discussions in cognitive science, philosophy, and physics, invites us to question the very nature of reality as we understand it. According to Hoffman, the complexity of reality causes it to remain hidden from our understanding. He suggests that our perception of the world is not a direct representation of objective reality.
We've assumed that there's a pretty tight relationship between our perceptions and reality. If I look up and see the moon, then there is something that exists in space and time that matches what I perceive. And that if you take evolution by natural selection seriously, then that is precluded. Our perceptions are there. They're there to guide adaptive behavior, full stop. They're not there to show you the truth. In fact, the way I think about it is they're there to hide the truth because the truth is too complicated. It's just like if you're trying to, use your laptop to write an email. What you're doing is toggling voltages in the computer. But good luck trying to do it that way. The reason why we have a user interface is because we don't want to know that quote unquote truth, the diodes and resistors and all that terrible hardware. If you had to know all that truth, your friends wouldn't hear from you. So what evolution gave us was perceptions that guide adaptive behavior. And part of that process, it turns out, means hiding the truth and giving you eye candy.
Hoffman's approach requires a radical reformulation of our notion of the nature of objective reality and of our notion of time. In light of the evolutionary results, he proposes that consciousness, rather than space-time and physical objects, is fundamental.
That's enough. If you get it, you got it. I know you may not fully get it. Not many of us don't get it. And that's okay. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming, and the way I'm getting there, you really don't want to know. And we will do that more in a private session in a private group, because the thing is the reason why they used to hide knowledge and they would hide this, I believe, has more to do with if you are ready or if the human mind or brain can handle it. What do I mean by that? If you take the way we communicate, I need to get my hair redid. It annoys me. And it's redone, but it annoys, I'm sorry, my hair that needed redone. Where I was going was, the reason why we have this hidden knowledge is because of the fact that not everyone is ready or not everyone has the capability. They do have the capability, but you have to be in a space, right? That's the reason why it's important for certain people to deconstruct. But I think it's even better if you learn the reason why you want to, or you learn that you've heard it before, right? You've heard it before that you can go within and tap in and you don't need something to connect to God. Here's the thing. It goes even deeper. It goes even deeper. Here's a unique analogy. If you take the concept of the human being and you take the way we communicate, and I believe everyone that's listened to me has the ability to do a little bit of astral projection. And the way you do that is you go within yourself and you try your best to go into the mind and the psyche of someone that was alive, and you imagine that they are alive, let's just say 500 years ago, and you move them into this world, the way we talk with this particular English, the way we do things, the way the world works, the way you see cars, everything is moving in a whole different perspective and speed. The human brain, and certain people probably had the ability and have the ability, but as you project yourself and you say, I'm moving this consciousness, this state of consciousness in this era, it will probably collapse. It's no different than if you try to take the consciousness of people in the era, in the biblical era or time. They possibly had the ability to use intuition a little bit more. They had the ability to do different things in a spiritual manner in the state of consciousness, right? I'm unsure of the stories, the hero-like stories and the water parting and all that. It's hard for me to relate to some of those quote unquote miracles because I don't have a literal conceptualization of the Bible, right? Because I can only use my state of awareness and consciousness and compare that to their state of awareness and consciousness. And I would actually say that their awareness and state of consciousness, as the words, even going back further in the biblical times, right? And the words where the word was translated, these special teachings are translated person to person to person. What we have now today is nowhere near, nothing, there's nothing close at all, I would believe, to what they had and what we have. We have a reconstructed, redefined ideology of something that people have used as systems to develop to get people to believe. And now, like, a lot of us are believing the bullshit that's within it. It is what it is. And we have a lot of constructs. We had to come out of the constructs in our country, the constructs of slavery, the constructs of civil rights, the constructs of equal rights, you know, whether it be LGBTQIA or whether it would be being handicapped and trying to actually be accommodated in this world so that you can actually have access to a building. We have to fight for human rights because of the fact that we are in a state of being and consciousness that may not be fully tuned into the heart. Once we tune into the heart and we get to have levels of diversity that we get to say, what is this world made of? This world is made up of a lot of people and a lot of things. Back to where we are with our state of awareness and consciousness. As I said in the title, the universe is listening. And why is the universe listening? Because consciousness and the universe are a direct link. And if consciousness and the universe is a direct link, then all these esoteric understandings that we have as far as Bible goes, they are stories that I believe that can relate from a metaphysical standpoint on the constructs of what we knew then versus what we know now. We're now moving into a state of being able to recreate not consciousness, but we're able to recreate elements of the human existence and getting things to actually replicate things that humans would do. You get it? So in other words, driving a car, going to space, helping the human do X, Y, or Z. We're not creating consciousness in the quantum realm because we can't. We can't. But the universe is listening, and you need to know that. And the reason why you need to go through what you're going through in a deconstructing way is because of the fact that you are beginning to not tear things apart or break things down. You're just looking underneath the hood. You follow me? You're looking underneath the hood. What's underneath the hood of who you are? It is not your mind. It is not just your brain. Those are things that are just here like filters that protect you. It protects you from the source, right? In a way, from having all of that. But we're getting closer and closer to understanding our divine nature and who we are. The question is, how do we apply it? How do we apply it to our lives? Let's dive and take a listen to my dear friend, right, Dr. Fagan. Let me look at my notes and see where I think it was 120. It might have been like 128. I will go deeper into this when I have, probably more private, because what they talk about in this particular video, as I set this up, this particular video goes a little deeper into, it goes a little bit deeper also into things like love, right? The nature and state of love, right? And how do we relate as humans? How do we, all of this stuff relates to love. How does this stuff relate to the heart, right? Because that is a direct link. The heart actually has its ability, right, to connect. It is believed that the heart has more of ability to connect to the divine, to the universe, than the actual brain. But the thing is this, I'm going to tell you this. The renewing of the mind is really allowing yourself to unfold and let go of what you believe to know. What was, as you've seen in Donald Hoffman, what we believed was true when the earth been flat. We still have people right now today that will not even look to debunk science. They will just look to remain in a state of consciousness that says that the earth is not round, but is flat. And they will use scripture in the context of why the earth is still flat. Why? Some of us have to hang on to things in the nature of this reality so that we don't quote unquote go crazy. People have conspiracies because they have to terminate a thought and just say, I can't imagine not knowing, so I have to just make it up. That's the reason why a lot of us live in fantasy world, is because it's part of the human complex. Like, if you take a movie and you have a movie, you don't kill kids in movies. If you do, you turn the screen. You don't leave cliffhangers, otherwise people will run away. Because there's something about the human the complexity of not just the human mind, but the complexity of behind the curtain, right? The GUI, graphical user interface. That's what you're looking at right now in programming language, right? And it's not necessarily of a language, but it is part of the programming space, right? When I worked with programmers, we talk about the user experience, and you are a user. How does Facebook function underneath? You could go underneath Facebook multiple times. Facebook's so deep that they're writing their own language and how things work. They are creating a reality and a world that generates money, right? That generates a whole nother reality and psyche. Like, his glasses that he's creating now will basically be, there's somebody to just hack them, and they can go out to the world and it will search that individual person's face up and see if they're on social media. We're entering into a space that you can't imagine. And AI is something that we have to have in order for us to even function in that world. And you, as a person, need to understand that if you even want to be able to function without going insane, because there's a lot of people that are literally, especially during this political climate and season, are going to damn near go insane, because things are shifting. The whole reality of what we believe is shifting. And this thing that we talk about deconstructing, it is not that we have necessarily a choice. A lot of those people that are fighting for you not to actually go deep into really asking the question and going underneath the hood, it's the same people that told you not to go run a 4-minute mile because your heart would explode. Don't do that because the devil's behind it. What if ultimately a lot of evil is behind what you professed as not evil, but since you can get away with it because we've been professing it for so long? Let's listen to Dr. Fagan. If I get deleted, I get deleted. Delete me. I really don't care, because here's the thing, is what I'm tapping in and tuning into is far greater for you to understand and move, because it's going there whether you like it or not. Let's go.
Again, we tend to give free will to the body. No. The free will is a decision of the field to make the body do something other than the automatism of the body would make the body do. So you see, there is a very subtle, a very important difference here. So the body does not have free will per se. The body is a physical structure that obeys laws. The free will is in the field that controls the body. In other words, the drone cannot decide to do what it wants. If you don't do anything, the drone goes around like this, waiting for you to tell him what to do, for example. It does what we have told him to
Hang
do.
on. We're going to get there.
But the drone does not have the freedom to decide, now I do over there. That's unless you give him that authority. And in that case, it's still not free will. It simply will do what you told it to do. Okay? So the body is a little bit like that, right? Almost identical like that, almost, because the body is also quantum and classical, right? But the body that in general does not have free will. So if I, conscious being, allow the body to do what it wants, then the behavior of the body can be predictable because the body is a machine. So it can be predicted. Its behavior can be predicted.
Here we go.
But if the consciousness intervenes and make the body do something different than it was programmed to do, then the body will do what the consciousness wants. And so that's a free will choice. You see the difference? So the body simply is, responds to what the free will of the field wants, and the free will of the field is the one that has to learn about itself and use properly the body in order for the field to know itself. Because the self-knowing is in the field, is not in the body. The body simply memorizes things that are important for the body to function and be quasi-autonomous, but that's it. And that's why when the body falls off, this stuff remains, which is the knowing, the free will, and so on. So, we have to be careful again, because we tend to attribute to the body then free will. The body doesn't have free will, essentially.
So to the degree we identify with the body, we don't have free will as well. So would you say that to the degree we wake up to who we are beyond the body, the more free will that we access? Because we're still making decisions and choices here within the structure of the physical body.
The part that wakes up again is not the body,
right.
Is the ego, which is a portion of the sati. The ego that believed to be the body is the one that wakes up. So also the ego that still believes to be the body and believes also that it should do certain things and not others, is also a mechanism, because it's basically making the body do what it believes, which is a closed system. It is not really free. It is imprisoned in a sense by its own belief structure. So only an awakened ego can actually have really free will.
Well, you say awakened ego, but do you feel like the intelligence of the heart is better verbiage there? Because I feel there's two kind of different places we can make decisions from, There is the egoic structure in which we can make decisions from, but then there's also an intelligence of the heart that speaks to us more softly, that we start to listen to, that is more coherent.
Yes. And that's where, and the true courage, the true courageous decision, which is absolutely can only be otherwise it wouldn't be courageous. A free will decision, is something that goes against what the body would have done. Otherwise, otherwise the body simply would do whatever was programmed to do by its own life and the interaction with the consciousness. Because the interaction with think of the body and the consciousness as the way that we behave when we train a neural network, a computer. In an artificial intelligence system. We are the ones that given the data that the AI needs to learn from, and we tell them what to, we tell them right, wrong, and so on. So we are coaching this thing to imitate our own understanding of reality. There is no understanding here. There's the pretense of understanding here, but the understanding is in the consciousness. Who learns is actually the programmer of the AI, not the AI. They tell you that the AI has learned, but in reality, who has learned is the guy, that controls the machine. Okay, the machine will simply then repeat what it was made to learn by this other guy. The same way as our consciousness and the body is like the AI system. And our consciousness is the supervisor of the AI system. So as the consciousness learns, the body also learns, and it can then later on repeat what he has learned that wasn't there before. So there is a continuing learning in the body, it's like a continuing AI, increasing its capacities. But in reality, the body simply mirrors and, sort of parrots what the learning is, and the knowing is in the consciousness that controls it.
All right. We'll go deeper, but I hope I started it a little earlier. We can get into free will, but before we get into free will, and we're not going to right now, but what I want you to do is I want you to understand, as he was trying to develop consciousness inside the computer, he ends up creating the microprocessor. From creating the microprocessor, it goes and dovetails through a lot of different things, right? We use that in everything. The computer, which is a whole nother understanding that these people were essentially spiritual whenever they created it because they were recreating life. But what I want you to understand is consciousness, right? Directly connected to the universe, all that is, which we have a direct link that is not necessarily the body. Our consciousness, though, is a link to the body through the heart and the mind together. And the programmer, DNA, cells, history, all that stuff has programmed us. So we're deconstructing the program from the programmer and trying to get the body through the mind to hear, to listen, to understand. Because the original program that we are running, you are running a program, and that program is inside a system, almost like a software system, like the computer. And the thing is we have to reprogram the subconscious mind, which is a part of the mind, in order to realize or understand that we are capable of more. That can be even simple. That can be simple. That could be simple. That could be just me trying to understand that I want to be a pilot. So I may have subconscious beliefs that says I can't do it. And in order for me to do it, I have to just tap into what I would call is the surface level of consciousness. We're talking about getting deep, deep, deep into the level of consciousness of God. Not just that's just that's just a function of this universe to change the physics of the world. We're going to the metaphysics. Training the computer, the self. Going beyond that would be us being able to go into the program and what's been calculated into the program. Now we're moving into what we call is the quantum realm, right? And in the quantum realm, the way your DNA is made up, the way your body is made up, you can begin to shift your own body, and you can begin to shift not only your body, but your reality. And in order for you to shift your reality, now we're going to go back to the earlier videos that I had played for you. And it talked about rich spiritual experiences, NDE, psilocybin, and their various tools. Some people will speak against it, but the thing is they don't even know that stuff is how we were even come to where we are in this state of consciousness, because the plants have more and fungi have more connection to the universe and to the creation than we do. But we are the plants too. We're just a perpetuation of that. Meditations and breath work. There are things you can do to help you through your deconstructing process. And what you can do to help you through your deconstructing process, or help you get closer to understanding why you're doing everything you're doing and why you want to shift your reality. And in order to shift your reality in this world, whether it be financially, whether it be your health or whatever it is, the universe is listening and it's giving you what you may not want. So we're steady trying to deconstruct, and we really need to be thinking about what we want. Where we want to be whole, we want to be healed, we want to be right, and we already are whole, we already are healed, we already are all these things, but we have to begin to feel it and act as though, Neville Goddard. We got to begin to shift the ego and begin to do the shadow work. And the shadow work is essentially nothing but understanding all of this and how we're getting in our own way, how we may not be waking up and we may not be going to go work out, or we may not be thinking about what we can do to improve ourselves. Yeah, we go work. We might say we're not going to be drinking the Pepsi, but we drink the Pepsi, right? All those things can be hindering the body, which also hinders the mind, which also can shape and shift everything, your current reality. I'm about to end because I got to go. I'm going to be late to my appointment. I need some music. As I end this real quick. Listen. As we move from religion to spirituality, this reflection and reflects a broad trend in humanity in shifting from dependency on the external belief systems to an inner knowing and trusting in our individual experiences. Spiritual independence. People are increasingly questioning dogmatic beliefs and seeking spiritual autonomy. Practicing things like meditation and breath work and mindfulness are bringing people into a direct experience of the divine, allowing them to bypass the middleman and connect to the essence of existence. As we transition into spirituality, another connection to divine of who we are through the states of consciousness and speaking with the universe, we realize it is not an endpoint, but a gateway to something even more expansive. Consciousness itself. At the level of consciousness, we can come to an understanding that the universe is not out there, but it is inseparable aspect of who you are. Consciousness is a ground of all being, the fundamental essence that connects everything. This means that spiritual experiences aren't isolated events, but it's like a reflection of the way, a reflection of the very nature of the universe itself. There have been mystical experiences and described by lots of saints, things that you might even get in your Bible, and it's been whatever, interpreted however you feel. But the saints and sages and shamans across all cultures, they're not the only ones exclusive, but this is accessible by all of us. Although they may show us that we don't need religion to be our link to the divine, because you are the link. Challenging the idea that we need intermediaries. We are witnessing a profound shift where more people realize their role as co-creators of their reality. The shift is happening through technology. The global interconnectedness and the flow of information, enabling the rapid spread of alternative perspectives on spirituality itself and the nature of consciousness. It's happening, folks. It's happening as people look beyond traditional religious structures, and as you begin to look and go deep within yourself and adopt your own personal spiritual practice that connect you to your consciousness. And therefore the universe. Then how do I do this? How do I do this? The key is to cultivate practices that expand your consciousness. Meditation in the still mind, inquiring questions and assumptions, and practices that integrate the body and the mind and the spirit, learning to let go and allow. Stop just deconstructing and understand the power is here now. Woo! This is me, y'all. We learn to trust our inner voices and our inner experiences and understand that the universe is not something separate or distant. It is immediately woven into the fabric of your being. By embracing this, you can reclaim your connection to the cosmos and to spirituality and to the divine self within. Not bound by dogma, but grounded by your direct lived experience. And this is an era of awakening. And I want you to know that the invitation is clear. To move beyond the confines of religion, deepen your connection, allowing you to be free. All you got to do right now as you listen to this is you begin to pay attention to your breath. Pay attention to what you desire in your heart. I want to be of the true nature as conscious expressions of the universe. From belief to knowing. From separation to unity. From religion to the expansion of consciousness. Let's see. Much love to you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Here we go. Unlocking potential beyond belief. And the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure I put this up because it helps more than you know. I'm working, guys. I'm doing all I can. I'm working with Miss Dorothy. She's pushing me, there's the Cash App. Pause the screen if you need to. Go back. It's just my name. I'm paying attention. And I know who always like Miss Deidre and certain ones, Miss Dolores. I appreciate you guys. There's more. Just keep lifting me up. I'll keep pushing. Thank you. Peace.